Nice to be with you all today. We just sang, well, this little special beginning of this Bhagavatam class, because we just sang Jeev Jago. And it's nice to know what we're singing, especially on this auspicious Ekadashi. So this is kind of a very nice summary of our process here by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's saying, Lord Gauranga, or Lord Chaitanya, is calling, wake up, sleeping souls, wake up, sleeping souls. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? This is what we're doing, we're just sitting there, sleeping in our illusion, doing illusory things day in, day out. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is calling, wake up, wake up. And he's saying, you've forgotten the way of devotional service and are lost in the world of birth and death. That's where we're at. We've forgotten the actual proper way, and we're lost in this world of birth and death, in Maya's lap. I have descended just to save you. Other than myself, you have no friend in this world. And we want to rely on so many friends, go here, that, this, that, and the other for the friends. But who's a real friend? The one who's trying to get us out of the lap of Maya, not who's saying, come, take a sleep with me in Maya's lap. This is what's happening. And he says, I have brought the medicine that will wipe out the disease of illusion from which you are suffering. Take this Maha Mantra, which is together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I fall at the Lord's feet, having taken this Maha Mantra. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving the supreme reality, the supreme truth of the Supreme Lord, and which is why we call his names via the Maha Mantra. And he's come just for us, to save us, because we've forgotten our way. We lost devotional service, and we are here in this world of birth and death. So we should wake up. And so that's what that means. So whenever we have less time, we'll do like that. Hare Krishna, good morning. So, all right. Now we shall do Srimad Bhagavatam study. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narotamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Did I do all of them? No, that was just the first one. Before, Parth, go ahead.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narayana unto Narayana Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva.
Shrinvatam Swagata Krishna. Punya Shravana Kirtana. Vidyantasdaya Badrani. Vidunoti Sahritsatam. Hey, Michael.
Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, who in ever will start in the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the heart of the devotee, of material enjoyment.
Cleanse the heart of material desire.
From the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous and properly heard and chanted.
Yes, very good. Nashtaprayeshu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Parth?
By regular hearing on the classes of Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troubles unto the heart is almost completely destroyed, in loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Jai. All right. So we already read this. I'll just give a quick Sanskrit. It was Parvato Narado Domyo Bhagavan Badarayanaha Brihadashpo Bharadwaja Sashishyo Renuka Sutaha Vashishta Indra Pramadas Trito Grit Samadosita Kakshivan Gotamo Trishcha Koshikota Sudarshanaha So these were all the names of the sages that we're visiting. And if you remember, we were doing biographies of all the sages. Last time we did Parvat Muni, Narad Muni, Domya, Badarayan, who is Vyasadeva. And now we're on Brihadashva. So the translation is all the sages like Parvata Muni, Narada, Domya, Vyas, the incarnation of God, Brihadashva, Bharadwaj, and Parashuram, and disciples Vashishta, Indrapramada, Trita, Gritsamada, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushik, and Sudarshan were present. It's very nice to hear that Kaushik, who's been coming here, he's named after a sage, which makes sense knowing his parents. They run the local Jnana Yoga Center, and sages are known to have all kinds of jnana. So it's not a surprise that Kaushik is named like that. So anyhow, let us go on. With Brihadashva. Brihadashva is an ancient sage who used to meet Maharaj Yudhishthira now and then. First of all, he met Maharaj Yudhishthira at Kamyavan. This sage narrated the history of Maharaj Nala. There is another Brihadashva, who is the son of the Ikshwaku dynasty, which is mentioned in Mahabharata, Vanaparva 209-4-5. So these are just some places where you can hear from Brihadashva. So if you want to read the Mahabharata, you can. Bharadwaj, he is one of the 7 great rishis and was present at the time of the birth ceremony of Arjuna. Do you know what constellation represents the 7 rishis and said to be the rishis' planets? No, it's the most popular one. The Big Dipper. That's the constellation of the 7 rishis. So Bharadwaj is one of them. He is one of the 7 great rishis and was present at the time of the birth ceremony of Arjuna. The powerful rishi sometimes undertook severe penances on the shore of the Ganges, and his ashram is still celebrated at Prayagadam. It is learned that this rishi, while taking bath in the Ganges, happened to meet Gritachi, one of the beautiful society girls of heaven, and thus he discharged semen, which was kept and preserved in an earthen pot, and from which Drona was born. So Dronacharya is the son of Bharadwaj Muni. Others say that Bharadwaj, the father of Drona, is a different person from Maharishi Bharadwaj. He was a great devotee of Brahma. Once he approached Dronacharya and requested him to stop the battle of Kurukshetra. Bharadwaj is potentially, Prabhupada says, he's the father of Drona. Drona is one of the first test tube babies, but not a test tube, an earthen pot baby, through mystic ability. So this is very nice. Craig and Michael, sad you couldn't stay longer. Sorry we started so late. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your services. And Michael, tolerate this kind of white hell, as Prabhupada would call it. And yes, you'll be back for devotional service later. Yes, stay engaged. Do your best. Hare Krishna. Yes, so this is very good. You can always be in devotional service, even in the midst of white hell. All right, let's continue. So he's a test tube baby, so to say, but through mystic ability. It's also said that Shiva also, when he one time he got bewildered by Vishnu in the Mohini Murti, and he also discharged the semen inadvertently. And actually all kinds of auspicious things happened to wherever that semen touched. Actually, I think, what is it? Are all of the holy places where all the Shiva lingas are? Isn't that where? Yeah.
The 5 locations.
No, more than that. 13 of them. Yes. So I think that actually has to do with also that pastime. But anyhow, I won't speak on something I don't have complete knowledge on, or at least confidence on. So, so a sage's semen is actually more powerful. It's because they practice so much austerity. And so that's actually why when one wants to bear a good child, that you take a rigorous vow of celibacy beforehand. And that celibacy will actually empower you to give, attract a deeper soul, and also to give a more powerful, discharge. So anyhow, that's how Drona was born, and he was born of a sage, and that's why he was so great and powerful, and he was actually impossible to kill without the tricks of Krishna. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. Parashuram, or Renuka Sutta, is the son of Maharaj Jamadagni and Srimati Renuka. Thus he is also known as Renuka Sutta. He is one of the powerful incarnations of God, and he killed the Kshatriya community as a whole 21 times. With the blood of the Kshatriyas, he pleased the souls of his forefathers. Later on, he underwent severe penances at Mahendra Parvata. After taking the whole earth from the Kshatriyas, he gave it in charity to Kashyapa Muni. Parashuram instructed the Dhanurveda, or the science of fighting, to Dronacharya because he happened to be a Brahmin. He was present during the coronation of Maharaj Yudhishthira, and he celebrated the function along with the other great rishis. So Parashuram is actually said to be an avatar of Vishnu. He was mentioned in the beginning. He is a pretty brutal avatar, where he killed the Kshatriya race many times over. He's very old, very ancient, even though he was around in both the Ramayana and in the Mahabharata, which is many millions of years later. So he's like an ancient, he's an ancient rishi. But he, when the Kshatriya order was misusing their power, even though he was a Brahmin, he took the role of a Kshatriya, and he said, if you want to be Kshatriyas like this, let me show you how a real Kshatriya should act. And he acted on himself to act as the real Kshatriyas, and he purified the earth of 21 generations of improper Kshatriyas, so to say, and kind of reset the order. He also challenged Lord Ram. I don't know if anyone remembers in the Ramayana. And actually, he realized Ram was the next incarnation, the next avatar. Ram was able to stand up to him, and that's when he knew that his work was done of purifying the Kshatriya race. So Ram actually defeated him, so to say. He didn't really find true defeat, but it was he realized, he stopped the fight. Wow, this is a great personality here.
His anger or something, right?
What?
Remember, Lord Ram had to let go one of his bows, and Parasuram said, and Lord Ram said, I have to release it because I already invoked mantras, and he said, if you're going to release it, then you send it to my anger or something, and then from then on, he no longer was killing, and he's just been meditating.
Yeah, actually, that is, I think, I don't know exactly whether that's in the Ramayana or the Ramacharita-manas. I'm not exactly sure which pastime, but yeah, that is said to be like that.
But he's still here meditating.
Yes. He also taught Bhishma. He fought with Bhishma as well, and actually Bhishma exemplified when to reject his guru and even to challenge and go against his guru. This was actually exemplified in, even though Parashuram was a great personality because he had gotten, he was actually instructing Bhishma against Dharma. Actually, it's I think this is going to be explained here, so why don't we just read it. Parashuram is so old that he met both Rama and Krishna at different times. He fought with Rama, but he accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also praised Arjuna when he saw him with Krishna. When Bhishma refused to marry Amba, who wanted him to become her husband, Amba met Parashuram, and by her request only, he asked Bhishma Dev to accept her as his wife. Bhishma refused to obey his order, although he was one of the spiritual masters of Bhishma Dev. Parashuram fought with Bhishma Dev when Bhishma neglected his warning. Both of them fought very severely, and at last Parashurama was pleased with Bhishma and gave him the benediction of becoming the greatest fighter in the world. This is a pastime in the Mahabharata as well. So he's also coming to see Bhishma, and they have a history, a pastime together. So anyway, Vashishtha, the great celebrated sage among the Brahmins, well known as the Brahma Rishi Vashishtha Dev. He is a prominent figure in both the Ramayana and the Mahabharata periods. He celebrated the coronation ceremony of the personality of Godhead, Sri Ram. He was present also on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He could approach all the higher and lower planets, and his name is also connected with the history of Hiranyakashipu. There was a great tension between him and Vishwamitra, who wanted his Kamadhenu, the wish-fulfilling cow. Vashishtha the Muni refused to spare his Kamadhenu, and for this Vishwamitra killed his 100 sons. As a perfect Brahmin, he tolerated all the taunts of Vishwamitra. Once he tried to commit suicide on account of Vishwamitra's torture, but all his attempts were unsuccessful. He jumped from a hill, but the stones on which he fell became a stack of cotton, and thus he was saved. He jumped into the ocean, but the waves washed him ashore. He jumped into the river, but the river also washed him ashore. Thus all his suicide attempts were unsuccessful. He is also one of the 7 rishis and husband of Arundhati, the famous star. I think Arundhati is very, very near the Vashishta's planet, or in the constellation, the Big Dipper. So if you look very closely under where Vashishta resides, there's Arundhati very nearby. So anyway, these are kind of astrological personalities as well. Yes, these are just some pastimes here. I know you're probably like a wish-fulfilling cow. What's a wish-fulfilling cow? Yeah, the Vedic canon has so many things like this. But yeah, even if you don't have like complete faith in things like this as of right now, you can just kind of hold it back for some time and see.
Like the Surabi cows, no?
No, Surabi cows are the spiritual world. Kamadhenu is like a material. Well, I think Surabi is said to be Indra, is with Indra in the heavenly planets. But yeah, maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, they're wish-fulfilling cows. They can fulfill all desires by having them. So they're very rare. So anyway, Indra Pramada, another celebrated rishi. This one's for you, Tanmay. You were appreciating this one. He's just...
It's so short.
Yes. He was like, why does everyone get a nice biography except Indra Pramada? And I don't know. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All right. Trita, one of the 3 sons of Prajapati Gautama. He was the 3rd son, and his other 2 brothers were known as Ekat and Dvita. All the brothers were great sages and strict followers of the principles of religion. By dint of severe penances, they were promoted to Brahmaloka, the planet where Brahmaji lives. Once Tritamuni fell into a well. He was an organizing worker of many sacrifices, and as one of the great sages, he also came to show respect to Bhishmaji at his deathbed. He was one of the 7 sages in the Varuna Loka. He hailed from the western countries of the world. As such, most probably he belonged to the European countries. At that time, the whole world was under one Vedic culture. So this is very interesting. Said to be he was from the western countries of the world. There was, it's mentioned in the Mahabharata. I mean, you could even study history. Indian civilization has such ancient and rich technology and civilization and all these things, and at the same time, all the Western societies even admit that they were like hunter-gatherer type of societies. Now, everything has evolved in such a way, and history has been rewritten or emphasized certain things. But even this is admitted. So anyhow, yeah, he's a Western sage.
That's like how they found old statues of like Narasimhadev in Germany and places.
Yeah, and that's not the only place. We found many ancient artifacts all over the world. Gritsamutta, one of the sages of the heavenly kingdom. He was a close friend of Indra, the king of heaven, and was as great as Brihaspati. He used to visit the royal assembly of Maharaj Yudhishthir, and he also visited the place where Bhishmadev breathed his last. Sometimes he explained the glories of Lord Shiva before Maharaj Yudhishthir. He was the son of Vitahavya, and he resembled in features the body of Indra. Sometimes the enemies of Indra mistook him to be Indra and arrested him. He was a great scholar of the Rig Veda, and thus he was highly respected by the Brahmin community. He lived a life of celibacy and was powerful in every respect. So, very good. Asita. There was a king of the same name, but herein the Asita mentioned is the Asita Devala Rishi, a great powerful sage of the time. He explained to his father 1,500,000 verses from the Mahabharata. He was one of the members in the snake sacrifice of Maharaj Janmejai. He was also present during the coronation ceremony of Maharaj Yudhishthira along with the other great rishis. He also gave Maharaj Yudhishthira instructions while he was on Anjana Hill. He was also one of the devotees of Lord Shiva. Just one thing that came to my mind, all these sages were present before the great Kshatriyas of the world. Now nowadays, we wouldn't even know about it back then, except it was mentioned in history. But nowadays, who knows what type of influence these type of personalities could have. I'll just give you an example. That Adolf Hitler and the Nazis were very interested in Aryan history, and they were very interested in finding a place called Shambhala. You've heard of Shambhala? So they actually, it's documented they raided Tibet looking for Shambhala. And I think peacefully raided, but they really wanted to find Shambhala. Now, who knows if they actually found. But it's said that Shambhala was a place, one where Kalki will come and rise up, but also a place where these type of immortal type of beings, and maybe they're not technically immortal, but they live much, much longer than an ordinary human being. So, these sages are like that, and you never know how influential they might even be in the world that we live. We actually have no idea. So anyway, this Asita was also one of the devotees of Lord Shiva. Kakshivan, one of the sons of Gautama Muni and the father of the great sage Chanda Kaushik. He was one of the members of parliament of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Okay. Atri Muni was a great Brahmin sage and was one of the mental sons of Brahmaji. Brahmaji is so powerful that simply by thinking of a son, he can have it. These sons are known as Manasaputras. Out of 7 Manasaputras of Brahmaji and out of 7 great Brahmin sages, Atri was one. In his family, the great Prachetas were also born. They were also going to be mentioned in the Bhagavatam. Atri Muni had 2 Kshatriya sons who became kings. King Arthama is one of them. He is counted as one of the 21 Prajapatis. His wife's name was Anasuya, and he helped Maharaj Parikshit in his great sacrifices. Very good. Kaushik, one of the permanent rishi members in the royal assembly of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He sometimes met Lord Krishna. There are several other sages of the same name. So it's a very popular sage name. Sudarshan. I actually think this is very interesting. I read this the other day. What does Sudarshan mean? It's a chakra, but what's actually the Sanskrit of Sudarshan mean?
Sudarshan would be Lord's darshan, something like that.
Auspicious, Su, right? Auspicious, good. Darshan, vision. This is very interesting. That analogy was given. Something I was reading the other day. How it's interesting, the Sudarshan follows the devotees, like in the pastime of Ambarish Maharaj. Durvasa Muni tried to curse Ambarish Maharaj, but because Ambarish has always the proper vision as a pure devotee, the Sudarshan chakra is always protecting him and was ready to annihilate. So this is actually the protective weapon of the Lord, but I thought it was really interesting. It means auspicious vision or proper vision. So anyway, Sudarshan, this wheel which is accepted by the personality of Godhead, Vishnu or Krishna, as his personal weapon, is the most powerful weapon, greater than the Brahmastras or similar other disastrous weapons. In some of the Vedic literatures, it is said that Agnidev, the fire god, presented this weapon to Lord Sri Krishna. But factually, this weapon is eternally carried by the Lord. Agnidev presented this weapon to Krishna in the same way that Rukmini was given by Maharaj Rukma to the Lord. The Lord accepts such presentations from his devotees, even though such presentations are eternally his property. There is an elaborate description of this weapon in the Adi Parva of Mahabharata. Lord Sri Krishna used this weapon to kill Shishupal, a rival of the Lord. He also killed Shalva by this weapon, and sometimes he wanted his friend Arjuna to use it to kill his enemies. So very good. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru and Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishlaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatadine Jai. What's that? Yes, well, we started at 8:40, so we'll do text 8 and then we'll probably be finished today. Anyecha munayo brahman brahmaratadayo malaha shishya ajagmu kashyapangira sadayaha Anye, many others. Cha, also. Munayaha, sages. Brahman, oh Brahmanas. Brahmarata, Shukadev Goswami. Adayaha, and such others. Amalaha, completely purified. Shishyai, by the disciples. Upeta, accompanied. Ajagmu, arrived. Kashyapa, Angiras, Adayaha, others. And many others like Shukadev Goswami and other purified souls, Kashyapa and Angiras, and others, all accompanied by their respective disciples, arrived there. Are you ready? There's three more biographies here. So, Hare Krishna. So Shukadev Goswami, or Brahmarata, the famous son and disciple of Sri Vyasadeva, who taught him first the Mahabharata, and then Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadev Goswami recited 1,400,000 verses of the Mahabharata in the councils of the Gandharvas, Yakshas, and Rakshasas. So I keep seeing this, the millions of verses of the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is known to humanity as the longest poem or longest epic with 48,000 verses. But now this is the multiple times now I've seen that they were reciting millions of verses of the Mahabharata. So there may be, seems at least, that there's an extended version of the Mahabharata that the sages know. So anyhow, I think this is interesting. So to the Gandharvas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, and he recited Srimad Bhagavatam for the first time in the presence of Maharaj Parikshit. He thoroughly studied all the Vedic literatures from his great father. Thus he was a completely purified soul by dint of his extensive knowledge in the principles of religion. From Mahabharata, Subhaparva 4.11, it is understood that he was also present in the royal assembly of Maharaj Yudhishthir and at the fasting of Maharaj Parikshit. As a bona fide disciple of Sri Vyasadeva, he inquired from his father very extensively about religious principles and spiritual values, and his great father also satisfied him by teaching him the yoga system by which one can attain the spiritual kingdom. The difference between fruitive work and empiric knowledge. He also taught him the difference between fruitive work and empiric knowledge. Empiric knowledge is through reason and logic, known as maybe basically jnana to some degree. The the ways and means of attaining spiritual realization, the 4 ashrams, namely the student life, brahmacharya, the householder life, grihastha, the retired life, vanaprastha, and the renounced life, sannyas, the sublime position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the process of seeing Him eye to eye, the bona fide candidate for receiving knowledge, the consideration of the 5 elements, the unique position of intelligence, the consciousness of the material nature and the living entity, the symptoms of the self-realized soul, the working principles of the material body, the symptoms of the influential modes of nature, the tree of perpetual desire, and psychic activities. So Shukadeva Goswami was taught all these things by Vyasa. So when we hear his Bhagavatam, we actually become privy to all this information as well. So sometimes he went to the sun planet with the permission of his father and Naradaji. Description of his travel in space are given in the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata. At last he attained the transcendental realm. He is known by different names as Araneya, Arunisutta, Vyasaki, and Vyasatmaja. So even further biography of Shukadeva Goswami. So it's very nice. And if we hear his great teaching of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can actually become privy to all this information and actually be benefited by having the highest thing, which is bhakti unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that can be revealed to us with sincerity and in the mercy of the Lord and the spiritual master like Shukadeva Goswami. So anyhow, Kashyapa, one of the Prajapatis, the son of Marichi, and one of the sons-in-laws of Prajapati Daksha. He is the father of the gigantic bird, Garuda, who is given elephants and tortoises as eatables. He married 13 daughters of Prajapati Daksha, and their names are Aditi, Diti, Danu, Kashta, Arishta, Surasa, Ila, Muni, Krodavasha, Tamra, Surabhi, Sarma, and Timi. He begot many children, both demigods and demons, by those wives. From his first wife Aditi, all the 12 Adityas were born, and one of them is Vaman, the incarnation of Godhead. This great sage Kashyapa was also present at the time of Arjuna's birth. He received a presentation of the whole world from Parashurama, and later on he asked Parashurama to go out of the world. His other name is Arishnanemi. He lives on the northern side of the universe. So I guess one thing about Prajapatis is these are ancient sage-like beings. Not only are they human or humanoid, but they give birth to all the different types of species, like Garuda, the eagle, and so on. Like Aditi, he gave birth to the demigods. Diti, he gave birth to the demonic races. And then, if I remember correctly, the Nagas and so many other types of races were also born of Kashyapa. So these are just a little bit of technicalities and semantics, at least how the Vedic canon describes how the universe populated itself, or how the universe was populated. So anyway, Angiras, last one. He is the son of Maharishi Angira and is known as Brihaspati, the priest of the demigods. It is said that Dronacharya was his partial incarnation. Shukracharya was the spiritual master of the demons, and Brihaspati challenged him. His son is Kacha, and he delivered the fire weapon first of Bharadwaj Muni. He begot 6 sons, like the fire god, by his wife Chandramasi. So apparently he's the father of Agni, one of the reputed stars. He could travel in space, and therefore he could present himself even in the planets of Brahmaloka and Indraloka. He advised the king of heaven, Indra, about conquering the demons. Once he cursed Indra, who thus had to become a hog on the earth and was unwilling to return to heaven. Such is the power of the attraction of the illusory energy. Even a hog does not wish to part with its earthly possessions in exchange for a heavenly kingdom. He was the religious preceptor of the natives of different planets. So this is a nice story. You see, he was the guru of Indra, and actually you see the very severe, we have 2 main Vaishnava aparads are part of the Nam aparads. What are they? One is...
God's name blasphemy.
Who blaspheming?
God.
Yes, yes. So blasphemy, but that's one. That's yes. But there's another one. Gurur avagya, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master, or to neglect the guru as well. So this is a huge namaparad, and Indra is guilty of this a few times. And one of the times he became a hog on the earth. And what he ended up happening is he got very attracted to hog life. And he had a nice little hog wife and many little hog piglets, and he was very happy rolling in stool and eating stool, and then eventually Brahma had to come had to literally kill him out of mercy, because he refused to part with his hog body and his hog family and his hog wife. But how are we also like Indra? If someone came, come on, we're going to the spiritual world, we're going back to the heavenly planets, and we're like, no, I've got this, I've got my house, I've got this thing. We're like the hogs, I've got my friends and my family and this thing and like that. And it's really not too much better than the hog situation, but we're so attached to these material relationships and these material things. So we'll come birth after birth after birth. That's why we're here, because we're not very advanced, actually. So no problem. But anyhow, this is an unbecoming place. There's two ways we could look at the world. We could look at if we're enamored by the illusory energy, it's so wonderful. There's sense gratification everywhere. All I have to do is do this, that, and the other, and I could experience this thing, that thing. The tongue, the belly, and genitals can have a festival here. Maybe. Not really, though. And then the other way is the more intelligent way, is that, well, actually, all these things are sources of misery. And this world is like a miserable place in which, I don't know, kind of this like white hell is going on outside. So it's easy to understand how miserable it is if you go out in it for like 10 minutes. Like, oh my God, this place is trying to kill me, literally. But yeah, this is. But then there's another understanding of the world, where this world is also what's called part of Krishna's Shrishti Leela. And Shrishti Leela is a place where Krishna can perform pastimes. So the devotee actually strives to associate with this. So he might go to the holy dhams, and he wants to hear about Krishna's association.
What is that bhajan on top down?
Well, I'm not going to go into a whole
Oh, yeah.
bhajan and learning.
Talking about mundane learning and seeing all of
So I guess I'll read this. With great confidence I passed the time in the pleasures of mundane learning. I never worshipped your lotus feet, O Lord, but now you are my only shelter. Reading on and on, my hope grew, for I considered material knowledge to be life's true path. That hope was fruitless. That knowledge proved feeble. I know now that all such knowledge is ignorance. All mundane knowledge is but the power of the Lord's illusory energy, Maya, and an impediment to your service. It makes an ass out of the eternal soul by bringing about infatuation for this temporary world, or in Indra's case, it makes a hog out of the material world. And in our case, it makes our current body-mind false ego complex that we currently have. But this is not our true nature. So anyway, there's two more. Here is one such ass, who has for so long carried on his back the burden of material existence. Now in my old age, for want of the power to enjoy, nothing pleases me. Life has become agony now. That knowledge has become ignorance, and the burning pain of ignorance has become intolerable. Mundane knowledge has become just like a pointed shaft. O Lord, there is no other treasure in this world but your lotus feet. Thus Bhaktivinoda, giving up all mundane knowledge, makes your lotus feet the sum and substance of his life. Ultimately, this is hopefully where we get to, is realizing the immense burden that this world actually is. And in the Lord's lotus feet, in devotional service, even this world can be extremely joyous. We're seeing, when we're chanting, we're dancing, we're happy. In the process of devotional service, we have the ability to enjoy. And even facing death, and we've seen this with a few devotees who faced death so elegantly, so regally, like Maharaj Parikshit, where they're not, so disturbed by what's happening, Whereas if you are striving to enjoy the material world, you'll be so disturbed at death when every facility will be stripped away from you one by one. So anyhow, a little bit sober message, and I don't know how we got to this out of a biography of all the different sages, but yeah, Indra and Hogs of so Brihaspati, Maharaj Brihaspati Ki Jai, and Srila Prabhupada bringing that. But yeah, especially if we offend the Vaishnavas, and the chief being the Guru, if we offend the Guru, but you might say, well, how? You were just explaining how Bhishma and Parashuram were fighting as Guru and disciple. And Bhishma rejected his Guru, but he did so in such a way that he still ultimately was trying to be pleasing to his Guru, but uphold the topmost vows and his Dharma, and wasn't trying to break his Dharma. And ultimately, even in the midst of fighting with his Guru, he ended up pleasing his Guru. And at the beginning of Mahabharata, the Pandavas and Krishna, they all would have lost. There's no possible way they would have won. But Maharaj Yudhishthira is very intelligent, and he did something topmost that assured their victory. Do you know what he did?
So he took his blessings.
Yes, he went and he asked for the blessings of every single guru that he was fighting against. Drona, Bhishma, all of them, especially those. And he asked for their blessings. Please give me blessings to defeat you. And only because of that, did he actually, Bhishma said, you're very intelligent to do like this, because if you did not do this, you never would have had a chance of defeat. So actually, we must take the blessings of our seniors, of our superiors, especially spiritually. So anyhow, this kind of can be a theme. Not to do gurur avagya. It's mentioned as disobeying the orders of the spiritual master, but that could be extended a bit to disrespecting the spiritual master, disrespecting your spiritual and your seniors. We have many different gurus, right? The Bhagavatam emphasizes what guru? What's the number one guru the Bhagavatam emphasizes? Srila Prabhupada? Is that what you're saying?
The Bhagavad, the speaker.
The what? No. There's 3 types of gurus. Diksha, Shiksha, the Shiksha Guru. So the one giving you instructions are qualified to give instructions. So Sri Guru is showing up in many different ways, in many different places. And you might, well, my Diksha Guru, I treat him very nicely, but your Diksha Guru, he sucks. If you have that type of mentality, that's Gurur Avagya. That's disobeying the order, because that person can give you very valuable information and instruction, and he's not my Diksha Guru. It's not like that. Anyone who's giving the message of Godhead is the Shiksha Guru. And even if the Diksha Guru somehow doesn't give the message of Godhead, actually it's said, and you'll see in Bhagavatam, that person can even become fit to be rejected. Not that we should strive to do that. There should be, definitely this is the case. But, yes, the Guru is one who presents the Shastra. That is the one who presents the Shastra and the message of Godhead. So anyhow, very important that we see that how the Guru is coming in many different ways. There's a really nice book I read not that long ago called Sri Guru and His Grace, and it kind of emphasizes, it was written by a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, how the Guru is coming in so many different forms. And it's actually mentioned, it's evidence from the Bhagavatam in the 11th canto, how Dattatreya, who is one of our gurus, is explaining how even in the material world he's even able to see how the Guru is showing, giving instruction. So anyhow, we should be very careful. With Vaishnavas, be very careful, especially with our seniors and our spiritual mentors. And hopefully seek their blessings, and then we can move on. So anyhow, I don't know how we got there, but maybe it's relevant. So, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Sorry we went so long today, but we were quite late. So thank you all for joining. Keshava Gopal will give the finale for the North Carolina devotees, the North Carolina